Hello and welcome back to the Games Kingdom. Today we're going to be taking a quick unboxing of the new game by Game Brewer called OAK. This was a Kickstarter and this is the deluxe version. It's a 1 to 4 player worker placement game based around druids in a forest and obviously an oak tree. So let's have a look at what's inside. So as I say, this is the deluxe stroke upgraded version, so nice artwork both on the front and the inside of the box. We've got a rulebook here which we'll have a look at a little bit later, as we will the actual game board. So in the deluxe version you get these nice little card trays to make up and use for storage. You don't really use them in the game, they sit next to the game board, but for storage they're nice. The ones for these particular cards, which are the creature cards, so they go on the side of the board, and there's quite a lot of these different creatures. They will all give you victory points and different worker placement abilities and sort of upgrades in the game. Now this one is okay, they sit in there quite nicely even though they are sleeved, but I think this tray here probably just needed to be maybe a little bit deeper. As you can see, these compartments are sort of, they show what cards you put back in when you're packing away, but unfortunately I think this one's just a little bit too shallow. All of these cards here are the same front and back, so you've got the same design on both of those sides, and they sit again by the game board, and they come into play when you purchase them during different turns of the game. But as I say, when you try and pack these away, they're just a little bit too proud when they are sleeved, and with the deluxe version you can obviously get the sleeves with them. So what we do have are another set of trays. These bits come with the game as like punch boards, and then you sort of sit there and punch these things out and you make up these little trays and all of your worker placement components. So as you can see here, we've got screen printed druids, and then what you do to upgrade them throughout the course of the rounds that you play, there are 5 rounds, but you can take as many actions as you're able to, and you can upgrade your druids by simply putting these nice little components over the top, and they sit on there very nicely indeed. There are several different druids that you can upgrade to. So as I say, these are the little upgrade things, and they all sit either over the head of the druid, and one, which is the set of ravens, sits on the shoulder of the druid, stroke staff, and yeah, so they are very nice components, and you get those in both versions of the game. It's the screen printed druids that you get in the upgraded version, and I think they are just plain in the standard. So you get several different player colours, 4 in fact, and as I say, you get those nice little trays to store your components in, and you get a few extra card sleeves there. You get another set of components, and again another larger tray, so you can get these artifact symbols which you can attach to your player board, and they will give you player benefits. You can cast potions, so you've got these different potions, and there will be 3 of these out at the start of each game, a number 1, number 2 and number 3. There are 5 of each in total, but you only put 1 of each on the board, and they're drawn randomly, so each game it has a lot of replayability. And as you'll see when we have a look at the board, there is 1 potion that's out in every single game. That potion just gives you additional victory points. These symbols here, one per player. If you take that at some point during the game, it just means that you can take extra artifacts. And then you've got your other sort of components here, the first player marker and the solar track marker. And then every time you brew a potion, you take 1 of these, and it just shows how many of those that you've taken, because depending on where you are on the oak tree at the end of the game, if you get to the end of one of the particular branches, you get an additional lot of victory points for how many potions you've brewed. Moving on, we've got some additional little player boards here, but I'll take these out first and then I'll show you a player board or 2. There are 5 different player boards. There are only 4 players per game, so again you've got some replayability for these player boards, because you can mix and match these in different games. They are dual layered, so you've got this printed on the smaller piece that flips down, and then you put your tokens in here, and it donates how many of each resource that you've got throughout the game. Your druids sit in these little sort of rectangular marked boxes. If they have just got a normal druid, that's all you can place there, and some spaces will allow you to place either a normal or an upgraded druid on that spot. But if you don't have enough spots on your player board or cards or additional boards that you can get, and you collect extra druids, if you don't have those valid spaces to put them back at the end of a turn, then they go back under the oak tree and become available again. But you can either take them out and do extractions, or you can send them up the branches of the oak tree. What you also get are additional little player boards that you can add onto the end of your board, like so. And this one is for the elder druid, so that's the guy with the antlers, and basically it gives you an extra space dedicated just for him. He's the only one who can go back here, but he has an open space every turn available to him. And you've also got extra spaces top and bottom for cards. The bottom ones are for creatures to be collected, and the top ones are for your menhirs and your monoliths. So you collect those, and they give you extra spaces to put your druids back on, and also they give you victory points at the time that you take them. There's also a second potential one which will go either here if it's the first time you've collected it, or can go on the end of the elder druid, like so. So you can put those out there, and they will go at the end of your board. So this is the bard, and again he has his own space and things dedicated just to him. So those are the additional little player boards that you can get, and what you do is you get those boards if you take that particular upgraded elder druid, because you can upgrade to those elder druids by doing certain actions either on your cards or out on the board, or potions. As I say, there are 5 different player boards. They all do something different. They all have their own unique abilities, which you can see in these right hand side of the boards. So certain druids can go there. If it is a space like this with no yellow border, then any druid can go on it. But if it's got a yellow border, then only an upgraded elder druid can use that space, and it will give you additional things and abilities to use on your turn. So let's have a quick look at the board. And there are 2 sides to the board. They are both the same. It's just that one is a day board. So basically you've got your spots here that you can go onto. There's 3 spaces available to players, a 1, 2 and 3 stone circle, and you can go out onto these by paying resources. You move your druid to that particular space and you take the action associated with it on your what is called a moot card. You start with a hand of 3 and then you also can purchase some upgraded ones as well. So this is the day side, as I said, and then flipping it over, this is the side that I think looks the nicest stroke prettiest of both, and that is the night side of the board. So again, you've got all of the same spaces available to the druids, so 3 of each. You will get some ingredients which sit in a nice drawstring bag, which you can see here, again only available in the upgraded version. And then you get these very nice chunky tokens with leaves on one side and different ingredients for your potions on the flip side. So they become available, they go out onto these spaces, and at the end of the turn you can take a action where if you pass, one of your available druids, if you have any left under the tree, can go to those spaces, take that particular piece of ingredient, and you put that on your player board and you can brew potions. So as I said earlier, you've got your potion spaces here, 1, 2 and a 3, so you'll get different ones, as I said, each game. And then this is the potion that's available for all games, and it is just 3, 4 or 5 of any ingredient. If you do 3 and brew a potion, you get 3 victory points. If you use 4 you get 5, and if you use 5 you get 7. And you can do that as many times as you are able to per round stroke per game. So you could build up those ingredients and get quite a handful of points, but you can only do that potion ability on here once per turn, sorry. But you can do it multiple times throughout the game, and also in the end scoring phase you get one last opportunity. If you have any ingredients left on your board, you can use them if you have enough to make up one of those potions. So if you had, say, 8 ingredients left, you could use 5 to make a 7, but you couldn't use the other 3 and get a further 3. You only do that once, so that's why that symbol is there. And then we have the tree itself, so you will have some additional druids sitting at the base of the tree who aren't upgraded. All of your druids start the game as normal druids, none of them are upgraded, and they sit here, and you can use your moot cards to send them up the different branches of the trees. So there is the feather branch, the mistletoe and the rune branches, and each time you take that particular action or you have an ability on a card, your druid can move up the branches of these trees, and if they get to the end ones you can score additional victory points. So for every 5 victory points you score an additional victory point on that branch. For every elder upgraded druid you get 2. For every creature you have you get 2. For every potion that you've brewed, which is why you take those little potion symbols, you get 2. For every menhir or monolith that you've built you get 2. And for every artifact that you have active or complete you get 3 victory points. But you also get victory points each time you move up the branch. So you place your workers out on the board and you take the actions available to you, and the one with the most victory points at the end of the 5 turns wins. So let's have a quick look through the rulebook. So as you can see, there's a bit of blurb on the front. It's 1 to 4 players, plays in about an hour and a half, and they recommend ages of 12 plus, but I think you could get away with maybe sort of 8 to 10 years of age. So it gives you a list of all your components. It shows you the board, how it's set up, so you've got your artifacts and your creatures and your other piles of cards here, and your 2 piles of additional boards and your additional artifact track, and then your bag of ingredients. And then basically it will tell you how to set up your player board. So everybody starts with 6 resources of each: rune, mistletoe and feathers. There's actions you can take on your board which moves a token along to give you more spaces to place cards, and on your board it will tell you how many resources you need to play and pay to move that marker to allow you to put more cards down. But that's not classed as an action within your turn. You can do that at any point when it is your turn. If you think you want to buy a card at some point, you can just do that and then still take your card buying action. It shows you how to move out onto the board and what the costs are, which are related to the moot cards. Everybody's starting moot cards are all the same, so you can all do the same actions. It's just that obviously if you go out and do an action, if the next person wants to do the same action, they have to put a druid out as well, but they also have to have another druid on their board available, and that goes out under the oak tree, so it's a double cost. One of the elder druids that you upgrade to, you can use that druid if you do upgrade to that particular one, and if you do that action you can go to a space where somebody else is and you don't have to lose an additional worker, and you can also leave that till last and do that, which means that you don't have any workers left but you're still allowed to take that action. Tells you about the ingredients, tells you about the cards, tells you how to play. So you've got the dawn and dusk phases, and as I say, the solar marker will move along these tracks and spots, and they will when they get to the open hand symbols, they will also trigger a harvest, a stroke festival, and anybody whose victory point marker is behind that marker at that point will get some benefits depending on where they are, if they have anybody on the branches of the tree. So again, so you've got all your actions explained, doing potions, and tells you about your end game scoring, gives you the solo mode, so there's a set of cards for the solo AI player to take actions, and then the back half or back third of the book is the appendix, so that will tell you about your hand stroke moot cards. It tells you about elder druids, what they do when you upgrade them. They tell you about the druidic orders, so basically what your unique player board abilities give you. It will tell you what the potion tiles do, so they give you all different sort of benefits once you've brewed potions. There's the artifact tiles, so they will tell you what they do when you take them. And then you've got 35 creature cards which you can collect. And then on the back you've got the iconography chart, so that basically just shows you what the symbols on the cards, the board and all of the playing pieces will be doing during the game. So we've played this a few times now, and yeah, I quite like it. It's a nice, easy to sort of work out and play, as I say, sort of worker placement game. There are a lot of combinations that you can do to gather resources and upgrade your druids, collect the victory points, and obviously the actions that you and your opponents take can sort of bounce off each other but also mess up your plans. So you obviously have to sort of plan in advance and hope that somebody else doesn't want to do the same action you do, or it will cost you more. And yeah, that's OAK by Game Brewer. So if you like the look of that and you want to see any more, there are videos out on YouTube that have been done by other people such as myself, who have done how to plays and playthroughs of this. So if you like the look of what it is and the sound of how the game plays, take a look at some of those videos and consider pledging for it. I'm not sure if the late pledges are still available, but certainly they are now starting to go into retail as of November 2022. So yeah, and I must admit, Game Brewer, I only pledged for this when they started on GameFound about April of May of this year, so 2022, and it was the delivery expected in November. It actually came in the third week of October, so they actually delivered early. So you know, it took them about 6 months from sort of putting it up for a sort of Kickstarter type pledge manager, but on, as I say, but on GameFound, which is the Awakened Realms run system. And yeah, so if they can do it, why can't anybody else? Why are a lot of Kickstarters 2 to 3 years when they've got a game of this quality with this exceptional artwork, components and everything, and at a very reasonable price, out within 6 months? So they obviously had exceptional faith in this, because they'd obviously done a lot of background work before they pushed the button and started the campaign. But if they can do it in 6 months, why can't everybody else? So Kickstarter campaigns, take note, it can be done. It doesn't have to take 3 years. You can do exceptional work and deliver in the same year. So until we have another one of these, bye for now.